This is We the Sales Engineers podcast, show 276.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode. This is a different episode where I was hosted on a gentleman's live, the gentleman by the name of Chris Bussing, who's a salesperson. He worked at Google as an account manager, and now he works at a startup. He has his own consulting thing. If you're looking for an SDR job or an account management job, I would highly recommend you reach out to Chris. I was on his show, and it was live, and it was fairly long. But the things we talked about there, I found, or I think, are valuable enough that they would bear repeating. So that's the episode that you can listen to here. And Chris will be on this podcast in the next week or so to discuss his journey, his experience with customer engineers, as they're called at Google, and what he's the difference are between SDR, account management, and sales engineering. So stay tuned for that. But for now, let's just jump into the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. It's Chris Bussing here. This channel is committed to helping you get more out of life through success in tech sales and the pursuit of self-development. I've got a great guest here, Ramsey Majaba, who is going to talk about what it takes to break in as a customer engineer or sales engineer. What does it take to actually succeed in the role and develop your skill set? And again, use it as a path to live a full life. Because I love sales. I'm a sales guy, but there's other roles related to sales that might be a good fit for you. So if you get value out of this video, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for weekly videos committed to your success in tech sales and in life. And make sure to check out Ramsey's organization, We the Sales Engineers, if you're looking to break in to tech and get a high-paying job as a customer engineer. Ramsey, how's your day going so far?
Well, that's good. I think I kept talking after you started the broadcast.
Yeah. No, you're good.
It's always fun to start off a broadcast like that. So it can only go uphill from here.
Yeah.
So exactly. I'm doing well.
And it's sales and life is sloppy sometimes. I was just talking to consulting a CEO on cold calling, and this guy set a meeting. He still got the end result, and it was sloppy though. He had a high-pitched voice. It sounded a little nervous, but it still worked out. So it's only up from here. Let's talk about your background. Like, how did you end up starting We the Sales Engineers?
Okay, so I studied communication. The reason I went into university and studied engineering is because I didn't want to talk to people. And
hey, look at you now.
So we're starting from the beginning, I guess. Yeah. I studied network engineering. I graduated, become a support engineer, and all I did was talk to customers who were very angry. And I learned very quickly that the best way to actually, if you want to do any job, whether it's engineering or anything, communicating and working with people is important. And then I broke into sales engineering by accident. I applied for a role called systems engineering. It turns out that's the sales engineering role. And I did that job for a year and a half, and I realized that I suck at the job. And we can discuss how I came to that realization if you want.
Yeah, no, it sounds fun.
But there weren't any resources out there for us, like for sales engineers, solution engineers, customer engineers. See, like there's a million titles already. And I couldn't find any information. I figured the best way to get better at the role is to talk to more people outside of my organization, because people within my organization were doing the same mistakes I was. So I figured the best way to get people to talk to me is to start a podcast called We the Sales Engineers. So I'd reach out to people, say, hey, I have a podcast. Do you want to chat? And they said yes, more often than not. And that's how I started We the Sales Engineers.
I love that. And how have you grown starting a podcast? Like, how has it shaped you?
In so many different ways, right? Like, as a sales engineer, sometimes you tend to wait for the salesperson to bring you into a deal, to have a chat with the customers and to talk about certain things. When you start a podcast and you want it to be successful, you have to put yourself out there. And I'm an introvert by nature. I do not want to put myself out there. And that's something I had to overcome. So the way it's shaped me is I'm still an introvert. I still recharge by doing solo things, being on my own. That's why I have the squat rack behind me.
Hey, I love that you squat, man. It's easy to skip out on leg day, especially as a guy. But...
No, yeah, leg day is my favorite day. This is more than a paperweight. So, but I know how to turn it on and turn it off right now. Right? I know how to, like, I know for the next hour or so, I'm going to be talking to 5-6 different people. I can do my job, and then I will have time to recharge afterwards. Before doing that, before putting myself out there, I was always afraid of doing things. I was always afraid of making mistakes. And as soon as I started podcasting, all I did was mistakes. Like when you ride a bike.
Amen.
Yeah. When you start riding a bike, you don't start excellent from day one. And yet when we start a new job, we always expect that we're going to be great at it at day one. And if we're not, our whole lives are over.
What inspiration, man. Like, I love that you're encouraging people to put themselves out there, especially if you're introverted. I've talked to multiple sellers who are some of the best sellers I ever met that are introverts. And in fact, that it makes them more thoughtful and conscientious and slow to speak so that the customer has the space to show up. I'm sure you operate that way when you interact in sales conversations from a sales engineering perspective. But man, you being an introvert and also being able to extend your to your edge and like get out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there like you're doing is very inspiring. And that's like a dangerous company.
I think I agree 100% that introverts have their challenges, but I also feel like extroverts have their own set of challenges. Things come easy for me. Like, I'm good at sitting in front of a computer and preparing a demo or researching about the customer so that I can do a proper discovery. Extroverts enjoy being in front of the customer, maybe hate the preparation side.
Yes, let me tell you this, man. One of my biggest distractions, because there's a need, as you know, having built a podcast and having a coaching business, to do deep work. And obviously, like when you're in your customer engineering role, and one of my biggest distractions is I get pulled in. Like, I love socializing so much, I over socialize, and I don't get the work done. So it is so true and funny how our greatest strengths also come with imperfections. I call them to manage. And so you hit on a great point. So coming from an extra, I love that, dude. We're a good compliment right here, right? I mean, go ahead.
That's what a sales team is. I don't know if you noticed that when you work with like SEs and salespeople, if they're both extroverts, it's gonna be hell. If they're both introverts, it's like no one's gonna hit quota. But if you have a combination of push and pull, I think that's a great combination, and this could be a beautiful relationship coming.
Yeah, and I could tell when we talked offline that we had a really good synergy going, and I actually love that we had that little like hiccup, or not even a hiccup, right? Because it just in the beginning, because it's a metaphor for the reality that it's about showing up. And again, from a sales perspective, especially if you're an outbound, it's going to be sloppy, and if you're a perfectionist, you are going to slow down action and not get the results you need. Like, that's something I've struggled with, is being overly analytical in the past. But there is no way you're going to come into a cold call and have the perfect thing to say, and they're just going to say, yes, okay, great. You're always going to meet resistance. You're going to have awkward moments. Like, that's life. And same with dating too, by the way, which is a whole can of worms, right? Yeah. It's amazing, the parallels. But if you have any thoughts on that you wanted to riff on this, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to acknowledge some of the people too have showed up live. Thank you guys for being here. But go ahead.
All right, so let's just do this real quick from a sales engineering perspective as well. If SEs are expecting perfection in terms of their demo, that ends up being like not a great demo, mainly because it's never perfect. Things happen. People interrupt. And if we can't adapt, I think adaptability is a great skill that any human being should have, especially in sales and sales engineering.
Amen.
Like, for example, now we're going to adapt, and you're going to acknowledge some of the people who are on.
It's like improv, I don't know if you've done improv, but it's like, it can be awkward, but you learn the art of adapting. And so just one guy, I don't know your first name, but he said, you learn better from making mistakes. Absolutely. And he said, I think he's addressing you, Ramsey. It's funny you say that. I would not expect you to be an introvert without saying it. You're a good speaker, you're eloquent, you're confident. And so I wouldn't expect it either. And it's cool when we can like just kind of be vulnerable and acknowledge that. So we have WYBT. Again, I don't know these first names, but hi guys. Thank you all for showing up and for your time and attention. We're definitely having fun and gonna have fun in this conversation. So, okay, Ramsey, let's talk about I want to hear it from you. What's the customer engineer or sales engineer role about? Like, what are the actual, like, if you had to dumb it down, what would it be? Yeah.
So just as a brief highlight, sales engineer is a salesperson partner. We partner with salespeople, and our main job is to solve business problem through technology. Right. And I can dig in deeper a little bit about that.
Yeah, let's dig in deeper.
So basically, how do we solve problems? If you go to a doctor and you sit across a doctor and you have a problem, you're expecting the doctor to ask a lot of questions. And in this case, there's a doctor pair. There's a salesperson who's trying to solve commercial problems, and SE who's trying to solve business and technical problems. So as a combo together, we start asking questions to the customer, trying to understand what's the business problem that they're facing, and trying to figure out on our end how, like, what technical solution do we have that can solve that problem for the customer. Okay. And then after that, we're going to have to work with the customer and highlight the value of our problem, of our product, highlight the value of our solution.
And I would say too, to interrupt you, it's like the value of solving the problem, to your kind of point. It's like,
Yeah. I mean, the number one competitor to any company is do nothing. Right. So if there isn't enough pain, or on the flip side, we don't show enough value to highlight the pain, the customer could easily just wait another year. And that's part of this, like the diagnosis that we're trying to do. What's their current situation? The best question, or the first I always, we're here to make Ramsey blush. Thank you.
Yeah. You Brandon. See the comments. So shout out to Brandon and Muhammad. So those are the names of that one guy in WIBT. Cool.
Yeah. They're both my clients, and your check is in the mail.
You know Manila Ice?
Yeah, his name is Phil, and he's a great guy.
Thank you all for showing up. And we're definitely here to make Ramsey blush. Love it. But go ahead, Ramsey.
Good luck. Now I'll take that as a challenge. I was about to blush, but now I'll take that as a challenge. So we're diagnosing the problem. We're trying to figure out, and we're trying to highlight the problem that the customer has. Okay, the best question that I usually start a call with is, why did you even want to see us?
Yes. Okay. So, and the thing is, the cool thing about the sales engineer is you are probably the ultimate seller because you have the technical credibility, which is needed to get a deal done. A sales guy could just talk all fluff, but I will say, what piqued your interest to take the call? Like maybe an SDR said it, or, and so exactly what you're saying, basically. I love that.
Well, and it depends on the meeting. Like, let's say they talk to an SDR ahead of time. And then the SDR brings me in. My usual response or question is, hey, I know you talked to my SDR and you for some reasons, but this is an investment of time, right? And I would love to know why you actually invested your time to speak to us right now. And then we can have 100 follow-ups with this. Discovery session is not a checklist, right?
I was just going to say there's maybe one of two outcomes. There could be other variations, but one is they give you the answers to the test and they're literally like, I have a specific problem, or they already did their research on you, what you do. And they're like, yeah. And then you just go with the path of least resistance and, do what you need to do to qualify and figure out the next steps. Yep. Or they're like, oh, Chris was freaking annoying me and he wouldn't stop reaching out. And I just took the meeting for no reason other than I just want him to stop reaching out. And then you have to actually, that's a different story, right? Do you have any thoughts on that version?
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Usually my response was, well, you could have easily booked the meeting and not shown up. Why did you actually show up? If that's the only reason, then I don't want to waste your time. I appreciate he's doing his job. Chris is doing his job. He's doing a great job. But if you have nothing, right? There must be something that you took this call for. So that's
I laughed because there's a Key and Peele sketch of a telemarketer. Do you know Key and Peele? Does anyone out there? They're so funny. And it's a telemarketer that he's like super cocky and he calls someone and they're giving him a hard time and he hangs up on them. So I imagine and not that you would actually do this, right? So I don't have reasons, okay, you're wasting my time, hang up. And then they call you back. It's just a funny tangent. Not that there's something to be said for not being needy and being respectful of your own time. And I'm not desperate. There's other fish I can chase.
Well, that's the thing about sales engineers. We're never desperate. You know why? We get 80% of our salary or 70% of our salary is just base. Right?
let's talk about that, because you already went to another question, which is important, right?
Okay.
The dollars and cents. How, like,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot to ask, right? Like, what's the compensation structure? And hey, everyone wants to get into tech for money. They want to, how much will you make in tech sales? Well, let's talk about the expected salary and bonus, how it works. Let's talk about all of that.
So there, like, the way I've seen companies do things is in 3 different ways. If it's like a startup, usually they just have a base salary, and they may or may not have a bonus related. And then the next option is salary plus bonus. It could be 10%, whatever. The most common one for SEs, and the one that I like, I wouldn't even touch those roles that don't have commission. But the last one is
seller, obviously.
Base plus commission, because I want to be rewarded for the work that I'm doing. It's not a guarantee, but there's a potential income right there. Generally speaking, it could vary from like 70-30, as in 70% of your total salary is base and 30% is commission, or 80-20, or 90-10. In the SaaS world, from what I've seen, it's 70-30. Networking world, it's more like 80-20. And like the old legacy hardware stuff is 90-10 from what I've seen. Security is anywhere in between, could be 75-25, any of those. Does that answer the...
Yeah, and so you're basically, are you in the... First of all, can you get a customer engineer or CE role with no experience? Is that a lot of what you do? Or do you is there a lot of prep work that needs to, you need to get some certifications? Because I help people get into tech sales with no experience. I help them translate their story. There's different things we look at, but you can do it, get an SDR role, entry level, no experience. Is that possible with a CE or,
It's possible, but it's also difficult. The way I view it is, we all have experience in something, in some form of software. For example, a client of mine, she worked at the government, and she was part of she did budgeting. She had some IT experience, but she worked at, I think, an Apple store or something like that. So she didn't have SaaS experience or anything like that. But through understanding her strengths and weaknesses, she targeted a company that sells budgeting planning softwares to the government. So what we did there is we kind of figured out, you work for the government. So the best company you might work for sells into the government because you already have experience there.
Yes.
You're also in budgeting. All right, let's target that company that sells budgeting and planning tools to the government, because sure, you don't have SaaS experience or technical experience, but you are the customer and you know exactly how to sell into that organization. Right? And you know what to show and what to demo, questions to ask as part of your discovery call and demo and proof of concept to that company. But there is the chance, the more certifications you have, the better, right? If you want to go work for Google, as a customer engineer, you probably need an engineering degree.
Google's even in it's so competitive. When I worked at Google, I'd refer people from the inside, and it didn't even guarantee they had got an interview, and they had a lot of experience. So it's you do need, they're very data driven. You need the experience. It's pretty hard, even through networking, to make a jump. I mean, anything's possible, right? And if you want to Google, you keep applying. I know people that have applied to companies like Amazon or Google 17 times and eventually got the job. But back to you, it's just the reality is it's so competitive.
I mean, Google is kind of the worst company I've ever worked for, applied to, right? My thought process.
What was your experience?
It's much easier to teach technology than it is to teach human skills, right? When I applied for Google, my experience was when I jump on a call with a recruiter, I'm gonna wow them. They're gonna like me. They're gonna know I'm likable, and then I'll talk to the manager and I'll convince them that I am likable and I can learn the technology. I'm not an expert, and I've done multiple different places. With Google, the first call I had was with a associate recruiter who had 6 questions that are all multiple choice, and by the end, he didn't know how to guide you. By the end of it, you either pass or you fail. Right. So if you're someone like me who's trying to learn a different technology, Google might not be the best spot for you. And also, you mentioned referrals. Like the best way to get a job is through a referral. So my client,
Exactly right. That's what I preach as well. You're so right.
yeah, she connected with someone who connected her with someone who then connected her with the manager of that company where she ended up getting a job. Right? And that's how the story goes for almost everybody. It's easier to get a job through referral. Google might be an exception to the rule, right? Because you need to have all that experience.
And yeah, what I find, Ramsey, with Google, like even when I was there, is I'd coach people, go to Oracle first. That's where I started. I wouldn't have got to Google. Even I went to Georgetown University, a prestigious United States university. I wasn't ready. It was like very rigorous, the interview process. And I went to Oracle, which is unbelievable branding and marketing from a perspective and great training for sales in particular. And I wonder if SE, customer engineer, and SE is the same thing. And Google being a product company, I was honestly lucky. A lot of success is luck and timing. I had the perfect relevant experience of the Oracle cloud, and Google knows they need enterprise sellers. So they're recruiting from Oracle, SAP. And so that's something, if you can play the long game, because like there is with Google in particular, and everyone wants to know getting to Google, it's not a sexy answer, but if you're strategic, you can develop the relevant experience. So you literally have it, but it's just for that first hop, like with no experience, it's probably not the best starting point.
For me, the way I see Google, it's not even a destination for me. And for a lot of my clients, like a lot of the things that SEs tend to do at Google is more like support. From my experience, right? From the clients that I've worked with at Google, they're just there to support their current customers. They're not breaking into new customers, and that's not a lot of SEs are hoping to do the demo, hoping to go work with new customers, hoping to highlight the value of the product. Google, everybody knows.
Now, here's the key, though. I was at Google Cloud, which they're playing catch up. The third in the market. They just became profitable. Are you talking about Google Ads or Google?
No, Google Cloud. Google Cloud.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I don't mind I like going to the non-incumbent. The grass is always greener, but like Google specifically, Google, AWS, they don't seem like a destination for me.
Yeah, what's exciting I found is that, like, I was at Oracle, I was at Google. I'm glad to get the branding, the experience, and it's like marketing, right? Ex-Google, right? It's nice. You don't need it though. It's funny. I told quick tangent, but there was a girl that I kind of liked her, and she became a friend. But when I was at Oracle and I got into Google, I was so proud. Like there was ego attached for sure. And I was like, oh, you get into Google too? She's like, I don't want to work for Google. Like, so some people, like, the reality is like, and I had a great experience, but eventually, like, you realize no company's perfect. And I'll just say, the most rewarding, exciting aspect of my career has been my current startup that no one really knew about, Bespin Global, and still don't. It's a Korean company. I'm the second founding salesperson, and it has been a fun ride. And I'm learning a lot more than being able to, at Google or Amazon, you have the brand names. So getting meetings, you can just say, I'm a part of your, and this is for the sales role. And obviously, and the audience probably knows, the salesperson gets us in the door, and then you bring in the customer engineer and SC strategically to bring forward. But you could just say, oh, I'm part of your account team. And they see Google and they're like, because of the brand, But like Bespin, I've actually, it helps. And I've had to learn how to be creative. And I think that skill set is more valuable if you want to start your own company. But anyways, so any thoughts to riff on? I had another question about pay, but.
Yeah. So like if someone's trying to break into sales engineering and they don't have what they consider technical skills, my advice to them would be to open their computer right now, just go hit the start button and look at all the different software that they use.
Okay.
And they have experience in all that software. Right? So if you've used Concur to submit expenses, so SAP Concur, you have experience there. You've used it as a customer, so you can say that you have some experience. Maybe you don't know how to code it, but SEs don't generally need to know how to code stuff, right? And you don't need to go after the big players. There's a lot of smaller companies, maybe not startups, because if you go join a startup, you're going to have to build a pre-sales process, and you don't know how. There's but somewhere in the middle,
right? Quick double click. I found that on sales too, right? They expect more if you're like a founding SDR or like customer engineer or something, right?
Yeah, well, for your own sake, you have to build a pre-sales process. I know people who are here today who are trying to build a pre-sales process, and because they can, it makes their lives horrible. Okay.
Good point.
So go somewhere in the middle. Look at all the different software that you use on a daily basis. You have some experience there.
So how do you find companies in the middle? Like, and I'll say on my end, I coach people like check out, there's some sources like RepView. I mean, you could look at Gartner quadrants and see like who are like, maybe they're not like the number one far right corner, but like they're up there as like a solid like company in a specific category. But how do you like advise people? Maybe Crunchbase, late stage startup. I don't know, but what do you think to like find those middle companies that are the sweet spot?
I don't tell people to go look at the middle companies. What I tell people is to connect with as many people as possible, and they can tell you where to go. Right? You can look at all the numbers at Crunchbase or any of that. If you don't have a referral, if you don't have someone to introduce you to someone, it doesn't matter the size. You're probably not going to get in. So I would say just broaden your network, expand your network as much as possible. It's harder now. Like we're in an employer market, but if you're looking for a job like next year, don't wait till next year to start expanding your network. Start doing it right now.
Yeah, I love that.
And like the big companies are well known, like Google, it's known, AWS, it's known, VMware, it's known. Like all these companies are already known, and so you don't have to go for them. You could. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Just saying, expand your network and see what happens.
Yeah, that's the number one asset you can build like through my curriculum, the Tech Sales Accelerator. Going to launch a course soon, almost done with it for a self-paced version, but I do a lot of coaching. It's like building your network is number one. All opportunities are tied to people. And it's how you step outside the traditional application process of like, why would you ever cold submit a resume that might be overlooked? The recruiter's in bad mood, hasn't eaten lunch. And when you can get referred from the inside and coached from the inside, you could literally get the answers to the tests on interviews. Like for Google, I did spend a month preparing and networked with people, so I knew the interview questions. Now they have a cognitive ability question or interview process where, there's a round that's cognitive abilities. And so a question like, oh, there's a dying newspaper company or a private equity firm and buy them out. Like, what would you do? Well, that's a question about digital transformation, at least from a sales perspective. That's what I'm selling. And I at least was able to prepare even for questions as hard as that to get to learn from the people at the company and get the thought process. So I love what you're saying. The only thing I would add though, because I'm a sales guy, is I make things happen. I create opportunities at the places I want. So I will look at the top companies and where I want to be, and I will network and create connections with the people instead of, and like, I do think the baseline is like, you could get a job opportunity through your friend's mom, like an incredible. So like what you said of just literally connect with more people, but also I come up with an intention, like I love this product. They're like a leader and I want to work for them. So I'm going to look on LinkedIn to see who all the key people are in this role. Like who are the people, and this is from a sales perspective, like who are SDRs that could get a bonus from referring me, and I'll reach out using sales skills to get time and hopefully get referred. Or AEs, I'll have cold call a VP, like that guts. So anyways, just another thing, like
I agree.
Land on what you're saying.
So what I tell people is the resumes don't get you jobs, people do. And the first step in my, like what I teach people is like cast your net wide, meet as many people as possible and get on calls with them. And when you find yourself overwhelmed and don't have more time for calls, now you can target whoever it is now you can just niche down. Okay. And you can target whoever you want.
I love that. And I'm going to take a mental note of it because I really like your emphasis. There's like an unpredictability of like the opportunities that come your way if you just literally connect with more people with obviously some degree of connect or intention, but don't overthink it. It is almost.
Well, that's the big problem that I've had is some of the people that I worked with, when I tell them connect with people, they spend so much time looking at the companies they want to connect with.
Okay.
But they don't actually do the work in connecting with people.
Yes.
So to overcome that, I tell them connect with everybody.
I love that, man. And that's like a good, just kind of applying the principle of not falling victim to analysis paralysis. Maybe doing what I call the do something principle, which Mark Manson, who wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, excuse my French, he's amazing. He talks about it like we overanalyze and we also wait for inspiration when in fact action creates it, So I love that, man.
The enemy of doing is inaction. I think that's something. Just start.
Great.
Get the momentum.
There's
Get the
no
momentum and then channel that
Come on,
energy.
you got me pumped up, man. We're
Cool.
definitely cut from the same cloth. We think similarly. And I think there's no failure, just learning, unless you don't take action. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally, that might be failures that you don't do anything.
Well, if we're gonna talk about quotes, I think someone said it's not a failure until you quit. Right? As long as you're doing it, it's not a failure. As long as you're connecting with more people and meeting more people, it's not a failure. Maybe you need to tweak it. Maybe you need to figure out like why this message is working, why this isn't, and then go from there. But if you continue doing that, it's not failure. Again, on the other hand, don't keep doing the same thing if it's not leading to some result. Yeah, Joseph is saying start somewhere. 100% start. Don't even start somewhere. Just start. Right now. Wait till we're done this call and then go on LinkedIn. Just start.
Yeah, literally, guys. Connect with me. Connect with Ramsey. It seems like most of you guys know Ramsey. You know, it's kind of a big deal. I know.
I haven't blushed yet.
Let's get him blushing. But you know what? I was watching a Stanford MBA. Like they have speakers. You know, Stanford, their graduate business school. And Vinod Khosla is the CEO of Sun Microsystems, one of the wealthiest people in the world. You know, and then Beast. And he said he's just surprised at how many people give up when they hear no or things don't work out. With enough persistence, the impossible becomes possible. So, I mean, I've seen some people, and I know this is, you don't want to hear it. They really want to break into tech sales, for example.
Yep.
Some do it in 2 weeks, which is an anomaly. Some do it in 2 years and 2 weeks. They, for 2 years, grinded, but they kept growing. They didn't give up. And then their job they did get took 2 weeks, but it was after 2 years. Maybe it's 2 months, right? It doesn't have to be that long. And if you
overnight success, right?
It's an illusion. Overnight success was literally habits over years. Like Robert Greene became a perennial author, you know, the laws of power and all that stuff. Until 30 something, he was like living with his parents, doing odd jobs. And his parents were like, what are you doing with your life? But he was actually developing experience and showing up. So, I mean, having a coach like Ramsey obviously helps you accelerate your path to success, because he's done it himself. He's modeled the way. So like, I obviously highly advise that. And again, a little shout out and plug, check out engineers in the description of this video, connect with him on LinkedIn. And so I'm a big believer in that mentorship and coaching. Do you have any thoughts on like kind of your, there's still a lot I want to talk to you about the role and everything, but when you're like how you support individuals, like what type of mentorship you provide?
So I like to coach. I've seen boot camps and I've seen sort of different things, but I like the consistent touch points. So I meet with my clients every 2 weeks.
Beautiful.
And go through what they're going through, just for accountability and for guidance. Because a lot of times it's disheartening. Things happen, especially right now. It's not a great time. So like that's what I lean on. I am coaching, and that's pretty much what I do. Like keep it simple, like KISS, right? I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Because here's the thing: is like coaching provides accountability, which it's hard to keep ourselves accountable, right? And someone that actually believes in you sometimes more than you believe in yourself. So it actually does. Having that accountability is worth an investment. And also investing financially in coaching, which I've done. I've gone to seminars, put skin in the game. I candidly feel like that self-investment and self-discipline, which is a different category, is self-love, man. So it's like investing in coaching for the accountability is well worth it, as well as accelerating the path to success, right? Like, so getting there a little quicker. It still doesn't mean you're going to get it overnight. And like in my coaching business, I don't guarantee jobs because there, like you said, there's a macroeconomic climate to deal with, and there's different factors. But I'm just such a big proponent because again, I do it on my end, but I've also invested in it myself. I feel like also, I don't know if this is the case with you, but I try and open up my network for people that are making investments and that I'm working with closely. Do you find you do that when you're working with your the folks that you take on?
I mean, I try to open up my network for anybody, but I definitely focus, like I'll go the extra mile for the people that I work with, just because I have a relationship with them. I am invested in their success. So yeah, I'll pretty much, like, I've jumped on emergency calls like an hour before a demo, like an interview demo, to
Yeah,
help someone with a demo. And I would have jumped on a call before that if they had told me that they had a demo, but they waited till the last minute. That's
yeah, I know. And you know what? Isn't there a joy in like connecting with good people who are trying to improve their lives and open up opportunities? And isn't it satisfying when you do help someone, like they land a job, they open up a new opportunity, you know, like it's great.
It's just like, for me, I'm the proudest of some clients that are here on this call right now, that even though they go through hardship, they keep moving forward. Right? And
I acknowledge that.
they run into some problems. They don't just hide it and disappear. They jump on a call. They say, Ramsey, I need to talk to you. They jump on a call and they tell me exactly how they're feeling. And by the end of the call, they're feeling better just simply by addressing what they're going through. So, like, yeah, my perspective is, I cannot control, and you cannot control, whether or not you get the job in the next interview or the next month. But you can control your own actions, you can control your own feelings, and you can just keep doing forward and improving every single time. The last interview sucked. What sucked about it? Oh, now you were asked technical questions and you didn't know the answers to. Find the answers. Yeah. Send those answers back to the hiring manager and tell them, like, hey, I looked up the questions that you asked me and I realized these are the answers. I'm going to focus my time and effort into learning that specific topic since I know now it's important to you. You might not get the job, but you know that you did everything you can to increase your chances of getting the job. At a minimum, you just built a champion for life.
That's the key, is if you don't get a job, like maybe someone you networked with helped refer you and coached you, or it's your recruiter or a hiring manager, keep it warm, like show appreciation. Don't get bitter, because you never know, like a job could come up in the future. And if you can like take in feedback and, like you said, like that's powerful, like learn, like if there were answers you didn't know the questions you didn't know the answers to, learn the answers, show that. And if you, by just demonstrating that commitment to growth and keeping it open, like that could really pan out for you in the future. And at minimum, you're going to take it in the next interview and you might even have a better company. You know, I've seen that for myself where I didn't get one job opportunity and I was disappointed, but by learning from it, I got an even better one. And I've seen that with some of my clients too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, things happen. I'm a believer of things happen for a reason. What happens to me today is to prepare me for what's going to happen tomorrow. And I can either crumble or I can just keep going. And yes, the market is brutal.
Yeah. You know, really nice though to, you know, it's a great point. Like having someone in the trenches with you, like Ramsey, you know, who can keep you going, and it is easy to quit. Like that's powerful. So, and I'm glad that there's someone like Ramsey out there to support folks that are, again, trying to and open up opportunities. And man, it's I'm doing it on the sales side and it's fun. And I am glad to be able to refer people who maybe they're like, I don't want to, like, I don't know about sales, but I want to do sales engineering. I can send them your way, which is great. Now, can we talk about that? Like why someone would maybe choose sales engineering over sales? You did say, you didn't want to talk to people, but obviously you are talking to people. So It's like, wait, no, that was for the other one. But yeah, why would someone choose sales engineering over sales?
For one, it's fun. So like I've done sales. I was shifted out of my role as a sales engineer and I'm doing pure sales. They're solving two different problems. I find when you're in sales, the fun part is you meeting with the customers, you're trying to solve the problem, trying to convince them. But then there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes with it where you have to do funnel reviews with your management. You're not in control of your quota, right? Every year your quota increases and it's no longer fun. When you're a sales engineer, you're seen by the customer as the trusted advisor. That person is not here to sell me. They're here to solve my problem. Whereas a salesperson, more often than not, whether it's true or not, they're seen as this person's trying to take my money, right? So from an SE perspective, you're working with the customer, you're partnering with the customer, and you're focusing on the technology. You're not focusing on the commercial aspect of it. You don't have to negotiate. You don't have that tense like standoff where you're saying that I'm going to give you 10.1% of discount, and they're saying, no, I need 10.2% of discount, and you're going to lose the deal over 0.1%, right? I think these are the bigger aspects of it, and you still get to be in sales. You still get to make a lot more money, but it's just a lot less stressful job than sales. At least that's how I see it. That's how a lot of my clients see it as well.
Yeah, it's helpful to get your perspective. And I mean, one thing that's cool about sales is that if you really want to like take on the CEO mindset and you want to be thrown in the fire and you're like super competitive and motivated, like I want to run the territory, I want to, delegate to different resources, whether it's like guide a sales engineer or a business value architect or even align executives, like that's cool. But it's helpful to know like why you might consider sales engineering, and it does sound like a good life. And I even think about it sometimes, and you can always go between the two, like you did. You could go from sales engineering to sales, or sales to sales engineering. So,
yeah, I mean, if you think of the salesperson as a CEO, I think of the SE as the CTO.
I like that.
Okay?
Yeah,
I don't want to go out and find the opportunities, but when the opportunity stares me in the face, I want to help the customer out. Like I want to kill that opportunity. I'm not going to lose that deal.
Love that.
So it's still
you are like, you have a pride, like in a drive to, which is important.
I mean, it's very competitive. Like for me, I want to know anything about the competitor. I want to make sure I don't lose the deal, right? Like if I lose a deal because of something I did, I will not sleep that night, right? And I've lost deals. And I've had a hard time with it. And even when they say like, oh, you lost on price, that's the salesperson's fault. No, that's your fault. You didn't show enough value in the product that the salesperson didn't have to negotiate on price. So I'm going off on a tangent.
No, I love it. Hey, I'm king of tangents, man. My mom didn't want me tested for ADD because she's like, oh, my son's perfect. But like, if I talk about, I think I have ADD, they're like, they laugh. They're like, of course you do. So I love that you go on tangents as well. And that's what makes it fun. Another tangent is, we got a comment like handling rejection after rejection. It sucks. Yes, it does. Right. Yeah. You shake the first few off, but over time it starts to take its toll. Well, call me cheesy. I'm a glass half full guy, but I believe this and I've seen it. Like the more you're rejected and the longer it takes to succeed, the greater opportunity for joy. Like literally you could cry tears of joy when you do succeed, a greater appreciation for the opportunity. It reminds me like Tom Brady was like picked like last in the draft or something. Aaron Rodgers, and they had a chip on their shoulder. And I'll tell you, like, I actually do believe it, right? Because I do work with some people on the sales side, and they've been trying to go after it for over a year, and that's a long time. But it's like there is an opportunity for joy when you push through, and it unlocks a growth mindset. Like you have more of appreciation than when things come easy. And keep me honest, you're like, Chris, that's BS, but I believe it.
So there's two different. I think there might be two different areas we need to discuss. One is getting rejected about a job, right? And I find looking for a job is a sales job. You need to have a big funnel.
Yes, it is.
If you get rejected, you just move on to the next one. So for every rejection, you're just closer to the yes. In terms of sales, when you're meeting a customer, first off, if they reject you flat out and don't want to meet you, good, you qualified them out. If you're in the meeting room, and I'm a little bit more pragmatic about this.
I agree. Hey, quick thing is disqualification is to be celebrated. One of my field reps, I was inside sales seller at Google. I had a field rep, dude, he went to Harvard Business. Now he's at a VC. Brilliant guy. He's like, we need to celebrate disqualification because we don't have the time to chase everyone, and that's a losing strategy. So 100% agree.
And then when you're in a meeting room, and you're getting objections after objection from a customer, then there's something this is an opportunity for you to clarify and understand what's going on. So you can either re-qualify the deal and handle those objections by actually understanding what the objection is about. Because a lot of times the objection is not about what the customer is saying, it's about something different. Or qualify the deal out and move on with your life. So yeah, I mean, an objection is just an excuse to learn more about the customer.
Absolutely right. When I get an objection, it's like you want to be able to understand like why, what's the source behind it, and just be really curious. And we're all set. Like oh, you're all set. That's actually a Jedi mind trick from Chris Voss, top hostage negotiator. That and it's kind of awkward, candidly, right? It's like you have to be kind of ballsy to say, excuse my French, but it's like, oh, you're all set. If you can own that, maybe you're a little nervous, but you try and be confident, like they'll start to talk. You need to, that you can't do anything with it, but if you can understand, oh, we have a competitor, then you could, and they tell you who, you could start to understand, like knowing the differentiation, or maybe there's some gaps. You could ask a question, you know, oh, really? I hear that all the time. Like, how are they handling things from a security perspective? If you know that you're stronger at security, and then maybe they come to their own realization that, oh, there is a gap. Maybe there's a reason for a call. But anyways, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you handle objections, and because that's important.
I mean, I face mostly questions rather than objections.
I got it.
Right. And the questions might be like objection-y, but then when I'm asked a question where like it sounds like an objection, I would like to clarify more. So I've had situations. I find like the best question I learned from Chris Voss in his book Never Split the Difference is just silence. If you're silent long enough, they'll fill in the void.
Yes.
So I don't even have to think of a question. It's like, we're all set. And I'm like, and then they have to come back and say something. Right?
Well, it's because, you know, totally. So whether it's silent, and I like that, or and it's building constructive tension that actually it helps uncover information. It also helps get deals done. And this is the sales role, right? Like, oh, the cost is $100,000. Like, you sit and I've heard such funny stories of like senior sellers that have people shadowing them, that all of a sudden the person shadowing jumps in and they're like, are you kidding me? Like, eventually the customer will talk. I've heard stories, and again, this is a sales thing, of like minutes go by and eventually they're like, okay, like, so the constructive tension is huge, and that's an art though. And it's a CE, I'm sure, you know, you're doing it too. The only other thing is, as I say, like, oh, you're all set. That's another way, and then you stop. Like, but I think either way it works, and there's no silver bullet, right? But yeah, I love that. That's an example of a sales thing that you're doing as a CE.
Well, as an SE, you're part of sales.
Yeah.
So here's the misconception: you're not, as an SE, you're not selling. You're selling all the time. You're just selling it differently, right? You're not asking for money, but you have, like, in the end, if you're there with and you're against a competitor. Right? Why would they pick yours over theirs? If you're just there to answer their questions, you didn't differentiate yourself from anybody, right? We're all the same, and now it comes down to, like I was mentioning earlier, it comes down to money. Whoever's cheapest. It's a Honda or a Toyota, right?
I love that.
Depends on preference and cheapness, right? But if you're there and you're asking the right questions, you're helping them build a vision of what their solution could look like. If you're doing tell, show, ask, if you're like, there's a million things that you can do as an SE to sell the product that would make the salesperson's job easier when they're doing the proposal and the negotiation. When you say it's $100,000 and here's why.
Yes.
The SE already justified all that for
you. It's like, no, you're definitely right. It's $100,000. Well, it also drives like what if it drove like $1 million in top line revenue, or reduced your total cost of ownership over 3 years by like $500,000? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and that you need I'm in the cloud world, and we're scoping out like migrations and things from on-premise to cloud, or even cloud to cloud, or we're implementing different technology. And my solution architect or customer engineer, SE, you know, they're doing that legwork, right? And it's actually really nuanced. I wouldn't want to do it, by the way. Like, looking at all these services on AWS, for example, and having them map out not just the bill, but how do they interact on the back end from a networking security perspective? How do they communicate? You know, so it's that legwork that you guys do is very important.
So I do the legwork, but then I put a lot of the legwork on the customer. I mentioned tell, show, ask earlier. Are you familiar with tell, show, tell?
Okay, to walk us through it, and by the way, quick thing, we got a question about avoiding burnout, and I actually do have an answer for it. And then I want to, and we got a little bit of time left, 47 minutes, we're going an hour. I want to understand the skills of an SE, which it sounds like this is part of it, but also like, how do you get the SE role? Like, what's the interview experience? So we can kind of pick out, what do you prefer? Do we want to maybe we start with the skills itself? I'll hit the answer on play and then finish up with like how you get the job. We could go either direction.
But it doesn't matter. Let's answer.
Let's talk about the skills, like tell, because I'm assuming this is one of the skills of.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the processes we use while doing a demo, right?
Yeah.
If there's a book called the Demonstrating to Win by a gentleman by the name of Rob Reifstall. He talks about tell, show, tell. If you're about to show something to the customer, tell them what you're going to show them the thing, and then tell them what you showed them. So I've taken that and I've modified it a little bit. Where let's say the customer has problem X, you tell them like, hey, last time we chatted, you said you had problem X. I'm going to show you how we can help you solve that problem. And then I do the demo and I show them. And at the end of the call, at the end of that part, I say like, all right, I just showed it to you. How do you feel this is going to work in your system, in your network, in your environment? And then they can start talking about, and all that legwork your SE did to kind of uncover the processes or the value that they're going to get. They're starting to tell it to themselves. I don't have to tell them anything. I don't have to sell them on that. They're selling it to themselves, or they're buying it. They're understanding how I'm going to help them. And then when they're done, I can ask follow-up questions. So tell, show, ask, then show the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. And all this is for them to highlight. All right. So, okay, you mentioned that this is going to help you do this in your current environment. Like, it always comes down to three things, right? Time, money, and risk. So, like, how much money is that going to save you? Oh, it's going to save you $600,000. Let me write that down. Okay, that's something my salesperson can now use, right, in the negotiation. All right. So, how much time is going to save you? How much risk is going to save you? And all that, they're selling it to themselves. And if they say like, oh, it's only this is gonna like save me $50,000. Oh, really? Because I just did all this legwork, and from what I saw, you're spending around $500,000 a month on this thing, right? So that's where the legwork comes in. Yes. But you can use it to challenge the information, and that's one of the skills that SEs have. Basically, you have to be a great communicator. You have to be able to ask the right questions. Great storyteller. One of the major skills is not being ruffled under stress, because when you're doing a demo, it's a stressful situation. Things can go bad. You might be asked a question you don't know how to answer, which is another skill. How to defer questions that you don't know how to answer. Leveraging other people, right? Your solution architect, he could leverage other people to do that legwork for him, so he can be out there helping you close more deals, for example. I'm not saying he should or shouldn't. I don't know his situation, but just an example. Knowing where to get answers. Being able to speak. Did I say that? Writing great emails. Right? There's
that's interesting. So you're saying like, because writing emails is a huge part of sales, and so obviously though I have times with the customer engineer, like they're writing the email. Sometimes they'll give it to me to like wordsmith. They'll give me the foundation of here's the key documentation and follow-ups. But do you find that you've taken in your SE roles ownership of? I'm assuming, yeah. Do you come in and you write those, like, especially you follow-up emails?
I think you have better things to do than edit emails as a salesperson, right? So I think as an SE, you have to have the right or the capability to do that. Not only that, so if I met with a customer and did a discovery call with them, the way I formulate the email, let's say I met with like a director of security at a company. Right? They're not the decision maker. There's a VP of security, CISO, whoever is above them. Yeah. I need to write the email in such a way to highlight the problems that I discussed with this director, how it could affect him, his boss or her boss, and their boss, and how can I help him, and how can I help all of them, and all they have to do is hit forward and send, and not have to worry about writing the email again so that they can share with their boss. Right? And that's something that we need to do as sales engineers, right? It's buyer enablement. Right? They want my product and they want to sell them to their boss, but they don't know how. Good. I did the work for you.
That is really good. And that's sales too. And again, because you are selling, but adding in that you have the technical know-how and chops.
Yeah. We're part of sales.
Exactly. So that is so important to empower your champions internally to sell for you and make it easy for them to share. Just like even like what we're doing, building our brands with our podcasts and YouTube, it's like important to have distill things in a simple way so it's easily shareable. I wanted to ask you about storytelling because I am big on that. I mean, fMRI scans of brains show that our brains sync up, with other people when we're telling stories. It's a gateway to influence. And I'm wondering, do you incorporate stories when you're talking about a specific aspect, like a feature of a demo? Oh, this customer actually got this benefit and like produce this result with this? Like, how do you incorporate stories into your, whether it's a demo or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, people, like, they say they love facts, but most people don't remember any, and they remember stories, they remember feelings, they remember how they felt when someone's showing something, not the facts. And the way I tell stories is a lot of imagine. We talked, like, Chris, we talked last time, and you mentioned your day. When you come in, the first thing you do is you look at your email. You're expecting something horrible to have happened overnight. Imagine you didn't have to do that. Imagine you come in and everything's good. Why? Because all this happened during the night, and it didn't have to come to you because all these people were involved first, and they were able to resolve the problem thanks to my product. And now you're here. Sure, there was a problem. Sure, you need to know about it, but there's nothing for you to panic about right now or to feel stressed. Like, that's one aspect of the story.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, like, this is something like, there's more than one kind of story, really. Like, if you're a founder, you can share the story of why you created the product, the problems that you were facing, that you created a product, right? I'm a new SE who decided to join a company. I can share why I decided to join a company because, I was running, so, like, let's say I moved from company A to like a vendor, and now I'm trying to sell into company B, which is similar to company A. It's like, the reason I moved to this company is because it helped me with my problems over there, and now I want to help you solve your problems. There's a million stories, a million ways of doing things. Pick one, right?
Yeah, I love it. And so having a quiver of stories too, like in your tool belt, or like almost, I think of like arrows to pull out and, I don't know if that was a good example of shooting an arrow. Clearly I don't do that. So you pick it out at the right time, right? And you have like stories that match certain types of customers, like relevant to their vertical, or a certain pain point, and it takes legwork though. And obviously a seller and a sales engineer, if you can put in that legwork, it is powerful, because once you have the story, you don't really forget it, but it makes an impact.
And I think of it the same way as like interviews. We tell stories during interviews. In both situations, you don't have to have that many stories. You can have 3 or 4 stories that you know by heart, and then you can just like modify them a little bit, adapt them to the current situation you're in. Right? Don't lie. I'm not saying you should lie, but I'm saying, if like this problem, generally speaking, when you're selling a solution, it's not solving one problem, it's hitting on multiple different problems, right? And whatever pain point is the most important for a certain person, that's the one you highlight in your story.
That's a key, is that a mistake that sellers, sales engineers make is highlighting bells and whistles that you think are cool, but the customer doesn't care at all about. In fact, they care about one problem, and you just want to double down on that and give them exactly what they're looking for.
Just focus on the problem.
So you hit on that. That is very important. Now, I wanted to ask you, we're going to go a little over, and that's what happens when we have great interview guests and the conversation.
I'm blushing. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I got him. Yes. That's me as a seller, right? I'm a sweet talker. Actually, my grandfather is rest in peace, but my grandma, and also rest in peace. They live great lives and great relationship. But my grandma always joked that he was a sweet talker. I'm kind of like that too. But hey, it's authentic. But let's talk about the interview process, because we haven't hit on that. If someone wants to, they're like, okay, I heard Ramsey talking about sales engineering. I want to get a high-paying job in tech. This sounds like the fit for me.
Yeah.
What's the process like? Like, you talk about networking, but what are the actual interviews like?
So a lot of people come to me and say, like, I want to get a job in a month. And I tell them it's impossible. Right. So for sales engineers, the first step is a recruiter will call you to set up a call with a hiring manager. Right. They may or may not ask about your salary. Don't answer that question anyways if they ask.
Let's stop on that, because like I notice you don't want to, like, some people, like you mentioned folks who had interviews and they didn't hit you up to prepare or something. Well, I had someone get a job and they ended up having a low base versus what they could have. I'm like, should have talked to me. But there's something about keeping an air of mystery, or not like showing your cards, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, the basics of it is, I don't know what the job entails yet.
Yeah.
Like, how can I give you a salary range? I don't know what the job entails, right? Also, there's a complete package. It's not just about the salary. There's more information that I would need. So it's very hard to give you a number right now.
Yeah.
And then the response is usually, the way I do it is, can you share what the salary range is for someone in that position? because that way I can qualify myself out too, right? If
Yeah,
it's
that's actually a great point. You want to respect yourself, and you're also evaluating the fit, and I don't care. Let's say you've been rejected all these times, like we are talking about, and like it might be easy to give into learned helplessness. And there's like studies where you all of a sudden you're chasing any opportunity and you're just sacrificing. But it's just please figure out like how you can just continue to have some self-respect and pickiness, even if you're like, like I just need something. Don't give in to that temptation, right? So.
Well, the way I see it is, if you're interviewing to sales and sales engineering, that's a skill you should have.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're showing that skill. Right?
Yep.
So we answered that question. After that, there's a general meeting with the hiring manager. Right?
Okay.
It's not usually technical. It's we always try to turn it into a conversation. A tip I would give here is take notes during the call. I see everybody sending, or not everybody, I see a lot of people sending thank you emails afterwards. Some don't. What I do is I send meeting notes because I treat it as a discovery call.
Ooh, that's good, man. That's good. I like that, actually. I haven't thought about that. That's
I treat everything in my life like date with my wife, discovery call. So treat it as a discovery call. Try to understand why they're hiring, who are they hiring, why are they looking to hire now, what happened to the last person, how often they hit quota. Try to ask all these questions about
Hey, you're on a date with your wife and you're like, oh, so why'd you take the date tonight?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why are we here? Because I missed you, you bastard. No, that's not how she sounds, but that's as much as I can do. Treat that as a discovery call. Try to understand why they would want to hire you. And again, the same way I talked about when you send an email to like a prospect so that they can forward it to their team, you're doing the same thing. This is what you're looking for. These are the problems you're trying to solve. This is how I am great for this role. Looking forward to the next step. And don't ever leave a meeting interview without knowing what the next steps are. And then you generally have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know, depending on the company, interview with teammates, like SEs on the team. This may or may not be technical, depending on the SE you're interviewing with. Then beyond that, you usually interview with a salesperson, VP of sales. Go ahead.
Interesting. So let's talk about this technical and then the sales interview. So what is an example of a technical interview? Because this is out of my league. I've only done like sales, which is like behavioral, role related, hypothetical cold calls or things like that. But
it changes from one company to the next. But let's say hey, how do you do this on Linux? Right. Well, how do you look at the IP address on Linux? How do you configure this on Linux? How would you configure this on Google?
Okay.
Stuff like that. I tend to push away those questions. So like, hey, whatever technology you want me to learn, I can learn. I'm not worried about it. I just want to make sure that we're a good fit. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it backfires.
That's interesting because we deal with that sometimes in sales. Like we might not know as well. Like you might get an industry specific question on technology.
Yeah.
It's more rare, but I mean, they do want to know you have an idea that, like, say, Google Cloud wants to see that the cloud market to some degree. But I like that. It's like, I think at the end of the day, what I do when I don't know is be honest. First of all, it's like I know Google looks for this, and again, we talk about it.
Everybody looks for this.
Intellectual humility. Like they don't want to put someone in front of a customer that's going to lie or like pretend they know an answer just to preserve their ego. But like that, it will just damage the relationship or trust with the customer. So it's just intellectual humility, acknowledging that you don't actually know, and then stating, like you said, your capacity to learn, and then even following up, like you said, which I didn't think about, but like that's so great. It's like follow up and show like you found an answer. What else would you add or adjust based on that?
So for me personally, like I'm in the networking world. If I'm interviewing for another role, some other world, I would tell them straight up, like, hey, if you ask me any technical questions about this role, I will not be able to answer it. Is it going to be a problem? So I'm in a position.
Do you defuse up front? That's the smartest thing, actually.
Well, I'm in a position where I can, like, I don't even care if I get the job, right? I most of the interviews I do is just to practice and to meet people. From my clients, what I always recommend is if they ask you a question you don't know the answer to, so I'm like, hey, I'm not sure 100% about this. This is my logic behind my answer. So I share some logic, and I say I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that. but this is how I think about it. And then I'll go back and get the answer. Tell them, like, this is what I answered. This is actually the right answer. I was way off. Good thing I learned from it. Here's the answer.
Love that. And a lot of times they're thinking just your capacity to solve problems and learn at the end of the day. And that's the great news, especially as you're starting out in your career, like, in your first role as a sales engineer, or, sales, it is a little bit of a lower barrier to entry with this SDR role, right? And especially at a bigger company where there's a lot, but super helpful on the technical side. Like, so there literally are technical questions. You might know it, or
sometimes,
like, hopefully, working with someone like you can guide these individuals based on the context of the company they're applying to, like, oh, you might want to prepare for these types of technical questions.
Well, so technical questions could take a lot of shapes and forms. So I don't promise that I know the technical questions that they're going to ask, but generally speaking, I would tell my clients to ask, like, I'm meeting with the manager today. Okay, so I'm going to say the next step in the process is meeting with a SE. What kind of questions are they going to ask? Are they going to ask technical questions? What should I prepare? What should I review? Because I haven't done this in a while. Right? That, like, capture all this information. It's a discovery call. Like, you're trying to figure out the personas who are part of the decision-making criteria, the part of decision makers, what they care about, so you can address their questions properly. So you can ask those questions from the manager or whoever you're talking to before the next interview.
Okay. Yep. That's really great. And speaking of questions, I got a couple more for you. We're not done yet, but
let's finish the interview process if that's okay.
Yeah. No, and it was related to that because I wanted
Okay, go ahead.
I love you 33. Love you too. Love that name. Asked, is a bachelor degree usually expected for SE roles?
Most jobs have a bachelor's degree in the job description. Treat the job description as a wish list. Let them say no versus you say no to yourself. I've seen many SEs get jobs that don't have a bachelor's degree. They have some certifications. They're self-taught. They have a portfolio. So there are things to overcome that. But you have to have something, right?
Great example. And like, if you don't have a bachelor degree, how do you handle that objection? It's like, developing real world experience, getting certification, showing that how would you handle that?
Well, basically certifications show that you can learn, right? So if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can either have certifications. If you're looking into going into the software development world, for example, have a GitHub, have a portfolio, put your stuff up on there, show yourself, right?
Yeah.
These are the main two things. If you're trying to get into the networking world, do some certifications, right? That's do AWS certification, do Cisco certification, Palo Alto, whatever. Just do some certifications, show that you can learn.
Boom. I love that. And on the sales side, just of course I'm chiming in, it's like things like you want to get into cloud. Well, maybe you're AWS cloud practitioner, which is less technical, but there's things you can do as well. How about the sales interviews? I'm very curious as a salesperson about this one. How do you do well in those? What are they like?
I've never interviewed for a sales role. So
what I mean is as a SCE.
Interviewing with a sales. What do salespeople care about? They care about someone they can trust who can do the work. They don't have to ask them to do the same thing over and over for a partner. So highlight that in yourself. Talk about how you've worked with people like that if you have. Tell them how you're eager to help them, support them, get to where they want. Highlight those sort of things and try to learn the lingo that they use.
Yeah, we're going to want to hear that, Ramsey can help me close more deals at the end of the day. It's that simple. And Ramsey also is I can trust him to look like he actually knows how to sell and connect and build trust with the customer and how to frame things. And I could just totally he is my CTO. He's my right-hand guy. In fact, I love when I can have a customer engineer we're just we become good friends. We're a dream team. And I feel that by ourselves, Ramsey, is we're helping people in different areas get into tech, right? So we're embodying that right now, which is cool, even though we're not at the same company. But so
we have the same goal. That's the main thing, right? We have the same goal. Our goal is to help as many people as possible get into whatever role they're trying to break into, achieve their goal. And when you're an SE and salesperson, you should have the same goal, which is helping the customer. And that's what you need to highlight in the interview. Have stories of how you've helped, how you've handled tough situations, how you've been there for someone who needed you, right? And that's I think, and please confirm it, Chris. That's very important for salespeople to know.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I wanted to get your take on like pet peeves from a sales engineering perspective for like how salespeople engage with you or what you value, because it's not just, it's a two-way street, right? Like there's things that we look for from our SEs, but also SEs have certain expectations of what a good relationships looks like from a sales perspective. So what do you look for in a seller to like set you up to succeed and make your quality of life better?
So I'll tell you the story. We were interviewing for a salesperson at my previous company. And there's one guy highly recommended coming in, about to knock our socks off. He rings the doorbell. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go open the door for him. I want to be the first to meet the salesperson. It seems that he's going to be my partner. I go open the door. I reach out to shake his hand. He shakes my hand, but he doesn't even look at me. He's looking for the sales director. And he says, I'm looking for the sales director, without even looking at me. Just look at for the sales director. So I take him to the sales director, who walks out. And the first thing this salesperson said, like, they introduce themselves and like, we're the ones who make things happen. Right. He's taken all the credit already. He hasn't done anything.
Wow, that's cocky. And that happens in sales, by the way. It's like,
yeah,
there's some cocky sellers for sure.
I walked away, and as soon as my salesperson came out, I didn't hear what he has to say. I said, veto. Oh, sorry, the sales director. I said, veto. I'm not working with this salesperson. So when I'm looking for with a salesperson, someone who can trust me and I can trust, who will treat me as an equal, not as a gopher, right? Who will listen to my recommendations and suggestions. In the end, they own the opportunity, they own the deal. I will defer to them. I just want a voice, right?
So this is really important for anyone who wants to follow the sales path to get. Your relationships with your customer engineer, your sales engineer, and other teammates is critically important. If you burn that bridge and don't respect and appreciate what they do, you're going to fail. Like, we go further together, like synergizing is so important, and it's a beautiful relationship between sales and customer engineering. Like, you could do amazing things, but please, like, don't burn, like, be mindful and empathetic of your customer engineer and sales engineer as a seller. And hopefully this, what Ramsey's sharing gives you a little bit of a perspective on how to do that.
And it goes both ways too. Like, most SEs I sit with tell me that I can do the salesperson's job even better. Like, all right, go do it. Like, go show me.
Yeah.
And then they go and do it. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know that they have to do all this crap. I thought it was just selling. I didn't know they're going to have to, like, they're going to get beat up every time there's a funnel review. And it's like, oh, that's part of the job.
So funny, because like prospecting is really hard. So the SDR role, the entry level that I help people, get into, is one of the hardest roles in business, because you've got a lot of noise. Attention spans are decreasing, especially for an executive. It's hard to get their attention. And at Google, I had a customer engineer who's brilliant. He actually, speaking of networking, came from Cisco, and he wrote an email that was so thoughtful, and it considered the tech stack of the company, because we have tools to figure that out, and even some business drivers. It was really well written. And he sent it, no response, right? And that's just part of sales, right? You could write them like unbelievable email. It's not an easy life. And I appreciate you acknowledging that, Ramsey. So if you have any
so much respect.
Yeah. And I mutual respect. I always thank whether it's a solution architect or SE, I'm like, thank God I have you. Like, honestly, I'm not technical. Like, you allow me to focus on what I need to focus on. Like, I am so great putting together statements of work too, and things like that, or modeling out environments, doing that dirty work of modeling out the costs or the architecture. It's not easy. So yeah, we got a comment. You need to treat all people like a human and be respectful regardless of titles. Yes. And by the way, I wanted to answer your question on how to avoid burnout. Ramsey, feel free to go on top of this as well. Add your own flavor to it. But I actually have been thinking about this, and I teach it in my curriculum for Tech Sales Accelerator. I have an operating system for overachievement, which is mindset, 12-week planning, and then high performance happiness habits. And one of the habits is play. There's a book on play. It's amazing how some silly activity that has no end in and of itself, something fun like pickleball or playing ping pong or just dancing around being goofy with your friends, which sounds kind of funny. is rejuvenating and fosters creativity and helps you be more productive. So my answer to avoiding burnout is, and there's a whole book on play, if you just Google it, like there's an institute, a play institute. You incorporate that goofiness in your life. And I mean, the goofiness isn't even it, right? Like just whatever sports you like, or it's just an activity in and of itself that you enjoy. It makes a big difference in avoiding burnout. And then I'd also just say having healthy habits each day, like finding time to prioritize your health and workout, taking little breaks, doing a meditation, things like that. So that's my answer to avoiding burnout. And realizing that like sometimes you might have a bunch of things to do, like even tonight, I'm gonna have more things to do. It happens every night, but just actually strategically saying I can do this tomorrow and getting a good night's sleep, right? Those are some of my tips. Ramsey, feel free to follow up on that.
I love what you said. I agree. Like I can tell you this. Towards the end of last year, I felt I was going through a hard time. Burnout. Yeah. During the pandemic, like we all got used to working from home, having meeting after meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then right now, like I could go meet customers. It'll take me like a 30-minute drive back and forth. It's no big deal. But as someone who's an overachiever who's very efficient, I'm very efficiency focused. All I would do is like, no, let's just do online so I can have more meetings during the day. And also working on WDSEs, having 3 kids, it became tough.
You got another job with 3 kids. I'm a 30-year-old single guy. Like I respect that, man. Like
I appreciate it. I have 8 years on you, so I had my first kid at 31. So
30s is prime. Anyways,
after that, I realized, like, listen, I'm about to burn out. I'm about to quit everything. I can either quit everything or find some things that I enjoy my life, to help me enjoy my life. And it was a simple change. I just decided to go to do 2 lunches with customers a week instead of being home all day working on meetings. Be a little bit less efficient, but do something that I will enjoy. Have fun, right? That was the main thing. I wanted to have fun, something to have fun. Like you were talking about play.
Yeah,
that's it. So twice a week, I go have lunches with customers that I like. Right. There's one day that I can go with a customer that I may not like, but twice a week, I choose whoever I'm going with. And I'm trying to do a little bit more CrossFit. I'm trying to be more around my family. So I know when we're trying to find a job or trying to be great at what we do, you're running you're a founding salesperson and you're doing your own thing, right?
Yeah.
We get so dragged into like just myopic thinking, like I need to do this, I have all this list of things to do. And if we don't have fun in that list, play, do silly things, we will never do them. So I agree with you 100%.
Easy, great answer. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously we think very similarly that like life is a marathon and not a sprint, and like burnout is very real. And you hear stories like Arianna Huffington, the Huffington Post, that wrote a book, Thrive, about, we think of money and power, but there's a third leg, which is well-being, where she like literally was grinding. And I hear this from executives a lot, and they just literally crash or end up in the hospital, right? So running the marathon is very important. Let's see. Go ahead. We've hit a lot, and there's probably, maybe I have one more question for you to wrap up on a positive note, which the whole thing's been a series of positive notes. But any other final thoughts on that piece?
It's just that, like, it's a marathon. We always think of it as a sprint. Let's do this, and then we can have fun. Let's do this, and then we can have fun.
Yeah, and it's like, guys,
it's never just this.
And the formula is not, it's not that, I'll be successful in my career and then be happy. There's a TED Talk on this. It's the other way around. I'll be happy if I'm happy now and I take care of myself, invest in myself.
Yeah.
I play, I do these things. It will spill over into helping me be more successful in my interview process. I show up better. I show up as my best self. I'm more likable. I do better in my job as a SC or salesperson. So if we can really love on ourselves and invest in ourselves and our own happiness today, that can have a ripple effect into how we show up. And it's not like waiting for the SC role or the sales role or to make deep 6 figures, be a millionaire to be happy. You can have that now. And that's what I think I can speak on your behalf too. That's what we want for you guys and for all of us.
Yeah. Yep.
So how about this? This channel is about selling more and living more, and SEs are selling too. So how about the live more? Let's finish with this question. What does living a good life consist of for you? It's a broad question, so kind of just share from the heart of like what you think composes a really great, rewarding, fulfilling life.
Just before we get there, I wanted to finish the interview process.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I want to make sure we get the value, and who knows, I might break this into mini clips as well. So let's get it going, get those nuggets.
Okay. It's just that panel interview where you demo something, and then meeting with the sales director. Then you get to the offer, hopefully, SE director, and then you get to the offer. Going back to this question.
Yeah, shoot, it's hard not to double click though. Let's talk about, just finish that. If we're going to bring it up, we might as well go all out, right?
Okay.
So just at least a little more context on the panel interview and then the final interview and the offer. Yeah.
So just the panel interview is usually a demo that you have to perform, and it could be either a demo from the customer, not from the customer, the employer. They can give you access to their solution to demo, or you can demo anything you want. Right? I tend to I've done either one, and as long as you're not expected to know everything. If you're demoing their software, you're not expected to know everything. It's just you're expected to show them that you can learn the product, and you can talk about it effectively, and you can share stories about it.
So it's literally everything Lindsay talked about earlier, just applying those principles and adapting to the context of like the solution that the company has, knowing that they don't expect you to be an expert, but I'm sure you can look at whether it's case studies to collect some stories from the website, and ideally, like you said, you're networking, so you learn from someone on the inside and they can give you a little inside info, but yeah.
I mean, I did a demo not too long, like a couple of years ago, I think now. And it's for a company. I didn't have a lot of information about it. I messaged a friend. It's like, hey, I need some data so I can input into this thing so I can show something. And he just sent me a link. Here you go. And it took 5 minutes.
And that's it. But those little things make a big difference. And if you're not networking and learning from the inside, you're honestly doing yourself a disservice, right? So
here's a tip I want to add to that. Generally speaking, a hiring manager who is asking you to do a demo wants you. They want you to be successful. So they're either going to offer themselves or they're going to offer a team member to coach you and do a dry run with them. A lot of people say no to that because they're worried about seeming needy. Don't say no to that. One of the greatest tasks, things that we have to do as sales engineers is leverage other people. If someone's offering help, take it. And then listen to what they have to say and show that you're coachable by modifying and doing what they're asking you to do during the demo.
I totally agree. As a salesperson too, one of the greatest things you can do is leverage other people to help you out, right? And obviously empower them with the information they need to help you best. But I just think that's a principle. Like if you're a CEO of a company, like you need to be able to delegate and empower others to help you. So that's a good nugget and a good principle. Should we finish up now on the that final interview and any other thoughts you have around the offer itself and that process?
I mean, the final interview is just like, generally speaking, it's a formality. They just want to make sure that the senior VP of sales engineering likes you. Okay. So that because they just don't, they want to make a decision by committee, and they don't want to. Nobody wants to take the risk of being the person who said yes, and then you turn out to be a bad person. So it's more of a formality than anything else. Just don't screw it up, basically.
Yeah, what I think of from a sales perspective in terms of bonding and rapport is really show thoughtfulness that you did your homework on the individual. Like maybe there's an opportunity to create a warm talk context from the start, like something you noticed on their LinkedIn. Obviously not all like personal nuggets are worth calling out, but something about them, like showing you did a little homework on the business, but also probably most importantly, mirroring and matching like a chameleon, their personality. Like if they're super, and I don't know, there's probably a personality type in general, but if someone's analytical, kind of match them. Or if they're super passionate, you want to match that energy. If they're more chill, you might want to match that. And so that's at least something I apply in sales interviews. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on those things, as well as if there's anything else you'd add to be like likable in this conversation.
I don't personally think about like matching someone's, like I'm just trying to be myself. I'm more worried about me than them, but I always tend to lean forward to show that I'm interested at a minimum. The one thing I would remind people is that even though you've done like 7 interviews or 8 interviews to get to this point, this is the first time the VP is meeting you. So they might ask you the same questions that you've been asked all along. And this is a mistake that I've done where, this is the 7th interview, it should be fine. Like, we'll just go in and chat. But a lot of times they just ask the same questions that you've been asked before, but I haven't reviewed them in like 3 months because the interview's been taking forever. And then I have to come up with answers on the spot instead of being prepared the same way I was prepared during my first interview.
Yes, that's a good point, is that I say treat everything like the Super Bowl. Like, every interview matters. Like, there's no, even though if they say, oh, it's so easy, it's formality, still take it seriously. I'm not saying like, oh, be a try hard, but I mean, at the end of the day, preparation.
Be a try hard. What's wrong with being a try hard?
Honestly, and that's what got me a job at Google. Like, I had a 90-day plan that I brought to the table. They're like, what's this? Because most people don't do that. I mean, there are people who do it, but I agree. I actually take Ramsey. I'm the same way. Like, I'm more so to try hard because it's authentic passion, it's commitment, and it's a way to differentiate.
Yeah, and if you're not going to try hard to get a job that will change your life, are you going to try hard to sell a product that you didn't make?
Yeah,
right.
I like that.
That's a proof that you will, at least, like at a minimum, you're going to bring 70% of that.
That's a good insight. It's a good way to think about it. So, final insight I want to get from you is going back to that big, lofty question of what does living a great life look like to you? What are some of the key factors?
Living a great life, like I'm more focused about my kids. I want them to be upstanding citizens of the world.
Love that.
Right. I want them to be strong. I'm just thinking about them. In that sense, I want them to be free, right? Free to do what they want to do, where they want to do it. Right? I don't want them to be. Well, basically that's pretty much what a good life is for me at this point in time. If you asked me that question 5 years ago, it might have been different. But today, and if you ask me again 5 years from now, it might be different. It's like, screw them.
We live in seasons, and I think the key, guys, is what is your purpose? What's your why? I mean, what's your purpose sounds so grandiose, but you certainly, if you take the time to think and reflect, like, you can find something to carry you, and that purpose will evolve. But man, I found some of the most successful people I've ever known they're so successful because of their family, and that's their why. So one day I see myself being in that position, and that is such a great motivation. And I would totally, like in sales, you're going to ask, they need motivated people just like SEs. It's like, what motivates you? And I've had folks I've worked with that some of them even are like, they don't have a family, but I want to create like freedom and stability for my future family. Yeah. So I think that's just really powerful. And, as we wrap up, cheers to all of y'all and all of us becoming stronger, becoming more free and more capable of making a difference in the areas that matter most to us. And I just think that, as Ramsey showed us, sales engineering is a way to do that. Of course, sales is too, like getting into the tech space, getting a high paying job. And, I appreciate, Ramsey, you highlighting what the role is actually like as a sales engineer, how to interact with sellers and customers, and what the skill sets are needed to be successful in the interview process. Like, we learned so much. I'm probably going to check this interview again and like learn, review some of the stuff. And guys, final thing I'll say is thank you for showing up, for your time and attention. We still got 6 people live. You went the distance with us. I love you, 33. Thank you for being here. And final thing, I think I said this like 3 times, is check out We the Sales Engineers. It's linked in the description of this video. Connect with Ramsey on LinkedIn. I encourage you, if you haven't met him, reach out and have a conversation. You're going to learn something, and he's got a big heart. And connect with me too. So, Ramsey, any other final thoughts before we finally sign off here?
I just wanted to, I was going to do that offline, but I am going to do it online. Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. We've touched on so many different things, from the practical to the philosophical, and this is one of the best conversations I've had in a long time. So I appreciate that.
Well, I just got chills. You can't really see it. Thank you for being
Did you blush though?
Conversation. And say it again. Oh yeah.
Did you blush?
We blushed, we got chills, we stumbled in the beginning and then sprinted through the finish line. We went the distance, we ran the marathon. This is one of the longest interviews I've done because it was awesome. So guys, to your success in sales, sales engineering, and in life, happy selling, happy living, and we'll see you in the next one.
And that brings us to the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a long show, so I'm going to keep this short. If you did like it, make sure you subscribe, show Chris some love, get on his channel. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes and in the description here on YouTube. So with that, I'm signing off.